What's your name and what's your opinion on the Silksong price?
My name's Ali. My opinion on the Silksong price, I think it's a good price. It's a good value, certainly. I saw some discussion about people saying, is this kind of undercutting the market? Probably a little bit, but I don't know. I think games are pretty competitive, and so, ultimately you're going to have to deal with, really great games are going to be at a good value, especially as time goes on. Like games from 2010, those are so very playable games, right? They're not like NES games, and so, those are going to keep dropping in price too. So Silksong being like a little bit discounted, I don't think really affects things too much.
Do you think a lot of the market is that $20? Like, I feel like the people they're undercutting in that narrative are like huge games.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's a smaller subset of the like indie game scene that they're undercutting. How do you feel about that?
I think the fear is not that they're necessarily undercutting like, your average like first-time devs game that might need to be priced at that. Like maybe they'll also be priced at $20, but I think that the fear is that when they're at like, $20, $30, then people might develop an expectation of, games that are $20, $30 have to be this good. But I don't think that's really realistic necessarily. Like I think people can recognize that Silksong is like exceptional in that way. And I think you bring up a good point where I think it does, like, if anything, it helps sort of keep the AAAs kind of more in line, where like, we're seeing them go to like $70, $80. Like, I think that sometimes it's a little bit egregious and like undeserved, and like Silksong is kind of like evidence of that. I'm like, hey, this game can be $20. Like, what are you guys doing?
And at least in indie games, there's such a wide variety of prices. Like AAA is like so rough because I feel like you're forced into the price, and you have to then play with everybody at the price, and the budgets are all over the place for how much those games are.
The budgets keep ballooning, and then also because the budgets are ballooning, the like need to sell like 100 million copies or whatever like keeps going up as well. So like they can't just, it's similar to what's happened with movies, right? Like you can't just have like a modest success, right? Like you have to be the biggest game ever or you're like screwed.
Are you playing Silksong?
Yeah, I'm like 10, 15 hours in. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for being on the question bus.
Thanks for having me.
What's your name and what's your opinion on the Silksong price?
My name's Tim, and my opinion is that, well, it's really great that it's cheap for people and anyone can pick it up. Kind of like
$20 US.
$20 US, yeah.
Or on Game Pass.
Or day one on Game Pass. And, so kind of like the original, it was sort of completely an impulse buy territory for most people. And Team Cherry obviously kind of doesn't, they knew that they were going to sell a ton of units, and so they kind of pick whatever they want and still be fine. I do still kind of feel like it runs the risk, especially for a game that is both this big in terms of popularity and this big in terms of spoilers the entire game. The game is huge and has lots of stuff in it, that it kind of...
And big in coverage, which drives the popularity,
yeah, exactly,
but like this is like so big it was a meme.
Right.
When's the Silksong coming out?
And also, like, in terms of... They didn't really have to pay for a lot of marketing for this game, whereas some games actually do have to pay for marketing. I think that I do worry that like the low price is kind of maybe setting some weird expectations of what a $20 US indie game should be. That means, and I guess we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see in the as we go on if people complain about the price of a $30 indie game that is half the size of Silksong, because games are expensive to make, and if you're making a game and you're selling it for $20 US and you're only making $14 after the platform cut, and so I mean, God forbid you have to pay for marketing for your game, but like $2 million is not a lot for a reasonable little-ish game to be made. And that means you have to sell, what, like 150,000 copies just to break even? Like, that's a lot, right? So I have the same sort of worries as I do about subscription services like Game Pass, where when people are getting used to paying $7 a month or $10 a month for a bunch of new games, or, you know, barely $20 or I guess $30 Canadian for this huge 7-year development cycle, baroque, gorgeous indie game, that they're just kind of maybe being a bit deceived into exactly how much those things cost to make in a way that like makes it harder for other smaller developers who are coming along and trying to make it work, you know, on tight budgets, on reasonable schedules, but still have to do things like pay for marketing, and still hopefully at the end of it can at least make their money back, if not actually be able to like start making another game out of that.
What do you think the price would have been that would have, the minimum price that would have avoided this whole news cycle, or this whole indie discourse, or this whole like,
I think if it was $30, we wouldn't be talking about this. Which is only $10 more, which is not a lot more in absolute money, but it is 50% more expensive than it actually is. So that kind of thing, like there's lots of indie games come out for $30 and with wildly different budgets.
And we're many years in, right? Like at one point, $20 was the expensive indie.
Yeah, for sure.
15 years ago, or
for sure,
whatever, and.
But like inflation happens, and games get bigger, and teams get bigger, and rent goes up. So like,
and also like I feel like game inflation is like less on the buyer side, right. less than bread or something. Like, yeah. Games
have remained pretty inexpensive relative to their development costs, and yeah. So I think that's true. Games are still cheap relative to, you know, spending $50 or $60 on a Super Nintendo cartridge like 30 years ago, right?
What's your name and what's your opinion on the Silksong price?
My name's Graham Hamilton. I love the Silksong price. I would have bought the game at any price.
Any price?
Probably.
At what price would you feel that this, like, controversy or whatever, this heightened awareness would have went away?
I think most of the indie, the Substack industrial complex that wants to make think pieces about stupid things like this, I think the price that they wanted probably was $35, which is what I paid for Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4, and I would... And
that's like a similar, like...
hype.
Like obviously Silksong was like the most wishlisted game ever.
Yeah.
But Deltarune is like as big.
It's up there.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I'm biased, of course. Like I love Undertale and Deltarune out of Hollow Knight. Apparently Silksong is more popular, but Deltarune is pretty huge. And that was $35 for, 2 chapters of a 7-chapter game. 3 chapters aren't out yet, but nobody complained about that. I'm sure they complained about something. For Silksong, I think they wanted $35. I think $20 is a great price.
I think it's cool.
I think it's really cool. I thought you were going to ask me at what price would I have not paid. And I was going to say...
what's in your savings account?
Yeah. I was going to say $200. Because I think I probably would have paid up to $100. I wouldn't have been happy about it, but I probably would have paid up to $150. I bought it twice. I bought it on Steam and on PS5. I wouldn't have done that if it was $150.
That's so interesting because it's also like on Game Pass as well. It was a day one Game Pass game, which to me that is probably scarier than the actual price. But due to the people want to play that game where they want to play it, it being on Game Pass doesn't impact you wanting to buy it on Steam or Switch. The way people's brains work. So my take on the controversy is I'm kind of surprised people aren't talking about that more. But that's also like a spicier thing to talk about because like a lot of games probably want that deal. Or whatever, like they want to do that, or it's a good marketing tool for other platforms. So
I also wonder, I would expect that they probably got a lot of money from Microsoft, like given how
I would hope so.
And so I wonder,
most wish-listed Steam game all time.
I wonder if that actually would have subsidized, like if that would have influenced why they charged less for it, because they were like, well, this like maybe we struggled a bit in development. They probably didn't, but like let's say maybe they did, but we got this money up front earlier. That helped us out, and so we're more willing to take the quote-unquote risk. I don't know.
And are you playing Silksong?
Oh yeah.
How far are you?
Not very far. It's been a really busy few weeks for me, and so I've really only been able to play total like maybe 3 to 5 hours, but I love it. I was saying to someone earlier, I would say 90% of the times I die is because I'm trying to pogo stick. And I go diagonally and like into a spike or something and go like, oh, right, I forgot. But it's amazing. It's jaw-dropping. You want a really spicy take?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for being on the Question Bus. Do you have another spicy take?
I think the music is a little bit worse than Hollow Knight. Only a little.
What's your name and what's your opinion on the Silksong price?
Hi, I'm Jesse. I'm a game dev. Woo. The price? I think it's fine. I haven't bought it. You think it should be cheaper? I don't know. I don't think it's overpriced, personally.
I think it's cool that it's priced the way it is.
Yeah, I think people are like, they should charge more. I'm like, no, that's the joy of indie. Don't charge more. Games are overpriced as it is. $20 is fine.
There's a freedom. There's like a freedom that indies have to make their own decisions, informed or not, or for whatever reasons they want. And at a core, you kind of have to respect everybody's decisions, and we shouldn't.
I think it's fine. Like, they made so much money off the first game, and we're all struggling with money, and making games more accessible is a good thing. It's a small team. If I can charge my games for $20, which I probably am going to do, I would, because I'm sick and tired of paying like $90. That's why I don't. I borrow the game or I watch someone else play it. $90 for a game? Disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And also, AAA games are usually, I don't know.
Not for you?
Not for me.
What was the last AAA game that was for you?
Does Bloodborne count?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm enamored with Bloodborne, so I'm not sure if that counts. I think the art, or rather than art direction, I think that the concept and everything in Bloodborne is so unique that I'm like, I don't care if it's AAA. I'm enamored. Before that, I guess Devil May Cry 5. Wait, are you saying
was Devil May Cry 5 the one that was made by Team Ninja?
I don't remember.
The one that was like in the modern time with like a Fox News paradigm and all that?
I think it is in the modern time, but they basically had actors, like they scanned people in, I'm pretty sure, right? I don't know, I just thought it looked nice, but at the same time, I'm sick of this realism shit and hiring like actors. It feels so superficial, you know? I don't care about actors, never have, never will. So